Hola amigos y bienvenidos. I get my tongue sticking around here. A la entrevista en vivo de hoy con el Dr. Danny Evans. So I want to welcome everyone to our live interview with Dr. Danny Evans of the Language Tutor. Dr. Evans will be on in just a second. In the meantime, let me give you just a little bit of housekeeping to begin with. We have a super chat that's open. You can ask any questions you want. We'll be monitoring your super chat questions. Below the super chat, you'll see an emoji. You can click that and send us some fun stickers. There's also a little dollar sign. If you want to show your support, you can click that. But we certainly want to hear from your questions. Whatever questions you have, we want you to send them to us. And with that said, let's switch over to Dr. Evans and welcome him to the YouTube channel. All right, Dr. Evans, it's good to see you.
Hola, how's everybody?
We're doing great. So tell us a little bit about the Language Tutor.
Well, you know, the Language Tutor has started out as a vision to provide a YouTube channel with multi-languages. And, you know, we started with Spanish, and so we're building from there. It's taken us a good year to get going, but the ultimate goal is to have a multi-language, one-stop YouTube channel.
Okay. And so right now you started with Spanish, and
Right.
What have you introduced since Spanish?
Well, we did about a year of Spanish, and we recently brought on French, and the next thing to come out is going to be Portuguese. And we've actually already filmed 9 or 10 Portuguese episodes, and we're just trying to get caught up on the editing because we don't want to start releasing the videos and then miss a week. You know, we want our subscribers to know that if we say it's going to come out on Wednesday, it's going to come out on Wednesday, and they know they can count on another episode coming. So we're trying to get a good 6 or 7 episodes edited before we start releasing. So hopefully it'll be before the end of, you know, in the next week or two, we hope so.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's one of the most important things about YouTube channels is to, you know, keep that consistency of when you tell people you're going to post to make sure that you post.
Yeah.
Everybody will notice in the ticker tape above both of our heads is that you can watch the Language Tutor on Sunday for Spanish and Friday for French. And so there is also another part of the Language Tutor, and it's the podcast. So, Danny, tell us a little about the podcast portion.
Yeah, right now we have the Language Tutor Spanish podcast. If you just type in the Language Tutor Spanish, you can find it. That podcast was specifically designed to allow people to watch the YouTube channel and then practice what they learned on a particular lesson while they're in their car, whatever the case may be. Or, you know, in my wife's case, she's listening to podcasts all the time, cleaning, whatever she's doing. So that's the idea. So we have the Language Tutor Spanish. We've just started the Language Tutor French. And I'll tell you, I'm also on one other podcast, if anybody's interested. I do a podcast with a friend of mine, Rob Jones. It's called The Family Vacationer. And we just talk about everything travel related, breaking news, things like that. So if you want to go check out The Family Vacationer, that'd be great. I also have a vision of creating, sometime before the summer is over, a Spanish conversation podcast. And I have a few friends that speak Spanish that have agreed to do this. And basically, we're just going to have conversations in Spanish. And the conversations, I want them to focus on the lessons. So, for example, one conversation may be over 3 or 4 different lessons so that people can just listen to conversations related to what they've learned.
Okay. And is that going to be like a learning group? Is there a limit to the size of the people that you're bringing together?
Well, I have 3 other people and myself, so it'll be the 4 of us. And pretty much it'll just be us having conversation each time. We just want people to be able to hear and try to build their comprehension skills while they're listening to what they've learned.
Okay, so listening comprehension, one of the most important topics that's going to come today. That's going to come today is listening comprehension. So tell us a little bit about the gulf between learning the language, how it's read, how it's pronounced. You heard me trip all over my introduction. You know, there's this block that comes down when that, there's 1,000 people watching. But tell us a little bit about that gulf. Why is it so large, and how to overcome it, the listening comprehension part?
Yeah, I think you have to develop a relationship with somebody that speaks Spanish, and you have to start very basic. I tell my students at school, find somebody that you trust, a friend, and start having very basic conversations. A lot of that block comes from the on-the-spot nervousness, and
which I always have.
If you can eliminate that nervousness, then you're able to kind of step back, get your thoughts with no pressure, take your time, and start very basic. And there are websites that allow you to do that, and of course you're going to have to get to know the person that you're talking to. But over time, you'll see you're getting used to that person. The pressure is gone. You have to start basic. You have to get the person to speak slowly. I know that when I was learning Spanish, I would come up to people that spoke Spanish and say, "Hey, they would speak Spanish to me," and I would tell them, "Oh, you're going to have to go slower. You're going to have to go slower," and then they would just keep talking at the same speed. So a lot of times for a native speaker, it's hard to get them to slow down. So I would say find somebody you trust.
The same person right there, when they said that, the same person that you were talking to, I think I was talking to as well. Because they just speed up, it seems. I like to call it the Spanish ear. That it takes time to learn how to just catch a word or two. And sometimes, once I've caught a number of words, I'm able to understand the context.
Absolutely, yeah.
Talk to us about the correlation between listening comprehension and vocabulary.
Yeah. And first of all, I just want to say I am reading the comments, and I think it's cool that Susan listens to me in the garden. So that's pretty awesome. I get emails. People say, "I listen to you when I'm walking in the park," or whatever. That really makes me happy. Okay, so let me just say that learning vocabulary, memorizing words, is, if you look at Bloom's taxonomy, that is actually low-level brain functioning. It's low-level cognitive functioning. Anybody can memorize things, but the goal is internalization. We can memorize something for a test, take the test, and 2 weeks later, we've forgotten it. So memorization is really low-level brain functioning. What you need to do is try to move. Thank you, Patty. I appreciate that comment, Patty Lynn. What you need to do is to move into the higher level thinking, which is analysis, it's summary, it's putting all this together in meaningful ways. And you do that by having constant conversation. And that's where you get that internalization, so that you're not saying, "Oh, I memorized a word. I truly know this word now."
Right. I've added a lower third here on the screen for Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy is an important piece of information that adult learners really need to comprehend. Because one of the things that Bloom's taxonomy says, in an hour's time or with an hour's worth of exposure, all we can do is basically inform you about something. But to really educate you, these things also have to take place. And obviously one of them is a lot more time, a lot more exposure, and so forth. So I appreciate you mentioning that. So that betrays yourself a little bit. I want you to tell us a little bit about your past history. Who is Dr. Danny Evans, and how did he get to be Dr. Danny Evans?
Yeah. Well, I need to go back a little bit. I can remember loving language as a little kid. I remember asking my dad questions about language, and my dad would kind of look at me, and he would like, what are you asking me? And I try to say it again, and finally he'd say, why don't you go out and play, son? So, um, but when I was 8 years old, I got my first guitar and I started playing music. And so as I grew up, music became a huge part of my life. Studied music for years. When I started college, I actually was a music major, and I was paying for my college by playing guitar in the college's jazz band. Thank you, Helen. I appreciate that. And so as time went on, I realized, I really love music, but I'm not sure I want to teach it full time for my career. And I just kept having this nagging feeling about language. Well, then Desert Storm happens, the Gulf War. And a lot of people may not know this, but I was in the Marine Corps and I got sent to Desert Storm. And while I was in Desert Storm, I was in charge of guarding an ammunition supply point on the border of Kuwait. And I had a whole lot of time to think, whole lot of time. And it was there that I really hashed this out and realized when I get back, I need to change my major to language. That's what I really wanted to teach. The only problem was I already knew French at this point, but I did not know one word of Spanish, not one word. So I thought to myself, if I major in French, it'll be easy because I already know it. Or I can major in Spanish, make myself more marketable, and pick up another language. So that's what I did. So all of my college classes were totally in Spanish. And then I started to travel, being able to really practice it. So I started teaching. I got my master's degree in language arts and social studies. And then when I went back to, yes, simplify, I went back to teaching. I lost my track. I went back to school to get my doctorate, and I realized, hey, if I get my doctorate in education leadership and become a school leader, it'll help me become a better teacher. And so I got my doctorate in education leadership.
That's a great doctorate.
Thank you.
Perfect for what you're doing right now. You really have the heart for teaching, and it comes through with your videos. You can see through some of the comments that come on here, there is a whole group of people who believe you are the best teacher ever.
Wow.
Ever. So if you've enjoyed this conversation so far with Dr. Danny Evans, please give the video a like, hit that subscribe button. But I also want you to do something else. If you have not subscribed to Dr. Evans yet, please do that after the interview. Stay with us with the interview, but afterwards I want you to go to his page and I want you to make sure you subscribe and like all his videos. Dr. Evans, you're a YouTuber. Why is that important?
It's important because we didn't start the Language Tutor for money. We really didn't. But it is nice when you hit that monetization point, which is 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of viewing time. And, of course, the ads start playing on your channel, but it is nice to, make a little money for all the efforts and be able to, we have some financial goals. I want to pay my house off, but eventually, so, those things help. But, I really started because I love teaching and love helping people.
Yeah. And here's one of the things I like to point out about liking and subscribing is there is a metric that none of us understand that's called the YouTube algorithm. And if Dr. Evans gets likes and subscribes, we know you like him, but there's a whole host of people who cannot find a language tutor on YouTube because he's so far buried down in the search results. And as you like him and subscribe, YouTube goes, hey, a lot of people like this guy. So let me see if some other people might like him. And then they'll suggest Dr. Evans to those other people, and his audience will grow. And so if you want to help others, it doesn't cost you a thing to like a video. I think it's a good courtesy. It doesn't cost you a thing to subscribe to a YouTube channel, and it does nothing but help others and help Dr. Evans. So the the learning the learning to the language tutor, excuse me, the language tutor.
Yeah.
How long ago was it when you first had this idea? Hey, I want to get started on YouTube. I want to start teaching on YouTube.
It was actually December of 2018, and you'll notice the first video came out in January of 19. And it took us a little while to plan and put lessons in a logical order, but it was December, and so we started filming in January when I was about 10 pounds heavier than I am right now. So I hate watching those videos, the early ones.
I'm ignoring you completely. What you just said is so
okay.
Unimportant. So unimportant. I mean, some people are dieting by protein, or they've got a creatine diet. I have a quarantine diet. So
I understand. Dan, there's something I wanted to say, because I get a lot of people that find me on Facebook and LinkedIn, other places. And several times a week, I have this conversation with people. They'll say, hey, I love your lessons, but where are the other ones? And the first thing I ask them, where are you watching me? Because if you just go to YouTube and you type in Danny Evans, you're going to find a lot of videos of me, but I don't own those. Right. If you're on the AIB YouTube channel, I actually started with a TV show called Que Hora Es. And so when I started Que Hora Es, they paid me a flat fee, and they own those videos, and they control what's posted. Right. Now, I'll just say I love the folks at AIB. They're great people, and I support them, and I'm glad people do support them. Sure. But I don't control anything that's posted by AIB because they own those. So if my channel is specifically the Language Tutor, you can find a lot of videos of me out there, but anyway, just want to clarify that.
Well, I'm glad you did. When I wrote my book, Paul, with Spanish with Paul, gave me some advice. He said, encourage people to go to Amazon and search for your book by the title. He said, don't give them a link. He said, if they search by the title, Amazon will push you forward more. Well, I actually never followed that. I didn't actually encourage people to do that. I always gave them the link. But YouTube is a killer about this. If you type in Danny Evans as your search string, you may not find the Language Tutor. So it's the Language Tutor that we actually want you to type in. That's where we want you to go. I'm going to show you what the screen looks like so that you'll know this is what the YouTube page looks like for the Language Tutor. And it says weekly videos. So soon, Danny, you're going to have to modify that. You're going to have to say bi-weekly videos or weekly videos in 3 languages or 4 languages. Or
yeah, we do have other languages coming out. So
okay, so let's talk about that real quick. What are the languages? We're gonna peel everything back. What are the languages do you see the Language Tutor having this time next year?
Yeah, first of all, I want to say hello to Joanna Wright. She's in the UK. I see her down there. So, hey, Joanna. They have a really cool practice group going over there. And I mentioned her on one of the episodes. So, hello, Joanna. Sorry I mispronounced Worcestershire, but I heard about that after that episode. Okay, so a year from now, Portuguese will definitely be out because we're wrapping that up now. English for Spanish speakers we've already filmed 10 of those. Okay. And we're editing those. French will be on there, obviously.
That's great.
It will be much.
Okay. So
I am in this. Yeah, I'm talking to somebody right now about sign language. So
ASL.
Yeah. Well, we're hashing that out right now. Is it ASL or another form? We may do a little bit of a mix, but I'm not sure. She and I are actually supposed to have lunch pretty soon. We're going to hash that out. But beyond that, I'm not really sure. It depends on who we can find to teach those.
Right. So it sounds like to me the language tutor, if not a year from now, but 2 years from now, at least it's going into the direction that it really is languages. It's not
Yes.
just Spanish.
Yes.
That's your focus. That's great.
Right.
Uh, my my daughter-in-law is learning sign language. I think she's learning ASL. I'm not sure. Um, but we did have some questions coming in. One of them came in from Patty Lynn, and she said that someone suggested that she watches a YouTube set of videos called Extra with English subtitles. Do you think that would be helpful?
Yeah. A lot of times my students ask me at school, they ask me, should we do subtitles in English? And I always tell them, if you're not only focused on that, if you want to use the subtitles as a way to hear, really focus on what they're saying, the subtitles can sometimes help you compare notes. Oh, they didn't say that exactly the way we do it in English. They said it this way. And a lot of times that will help you pick up context and how they reword things. It's like when people realize, oh, I can't literally say, how old are you in Spanish? Because that would not make any sense. I have to say, how many years do you have or have you? So the subtitles let you pick up those contexts.
Okay. I want to hit another question that's coming on YouTube.
Okay.
So if you see a question that you want to answer, please just jump in. But Helen, it's either camera or Camara. I like Camara.
Yeah.
I like Camara. So Helen, if you pronounce your name as Camera, would you change it to Camara for me? That would be great. All right. She writes, as an older learner, I find remembering the lessons really difficult.
Yeah.
I have got by understanding a few words. How do I move on to really remembering verb conjugation?
That is hands down practice. Using them in conversation as much as possible. You're driving down the road, you're going to think I'm goofy, but this is what I used to do. When I would drive home from college, I would turn the radio off and I would have mock conversations in my head.
Okay.
And I would, because I'm doing verb conjugations, I'm coming up with sentences. I was just always speaking or forming something in my head.
Now you were doing that in your inside voice or an outside voice?
Inside voice.
Okay.
Yeah. And hey, if it helps you just to talk it out, do it. But that's just that constant practice.
But don't do that in public. Do that like in private.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like when people ask me, how do I know if a verb's a stem changer? Well, it's, you can hash that out all day long. There's different ways to do that. But basically, the bottom line is, first, memorize these are stem changing verbs and then speak it all the time, because you're going to realize I can't say yo jugo. It's yo juego. And it's going to sound right to you.
Yeah,
so practice.
So, Helen, that was a great question. And many of us, I have found, that visit these YouTube pages, belong to Facebook groups, are of an older generation, or, we're not in our teens, we're certainly not in our 20s, and there is a difficulty remembering. And I think if you just first remember that, but I'd also encourage you myself, as a student of the language, to look and find out what type of learner type you are. If you're a visual, if you are an auditorial learner, if you're a tactile learner. And in the description below, not only are you going to find links for Dr. Evans's YouTube page, his podcast page, you're going to find links for his Facebook pages. You're also going to find a link to find out what type of learner type you are. And I'll make sure that's in there. If it's not in there right now, it'll be in there in a little while.
Dan?
Somebody's asked me if I can pull up my volume, so I'll lean in a little bit.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. Raina Scott is asking about if we have a playlist of videos that takes user from zero or high beginner to lower intermediate. I want to talk about that really quick. If you just come to the YouTube page, if you click videos, you're gonna see every video we have posted there, and they may not be in order. we've noticed a couple of editing issues that we want to fix. So if we reload those, they're not going to be in order. So you want to go to the place where it says playlist.
Yes.
And my data guy has built some playlists that, they start. You can check out the different ones, but yes, we do. If you click playlist, hopefully you'll find one that helps you there.
And the playlists are extremely important. I wouldn't encourage people when they go to a website or a YouTube page. When you go to a YouTube page, don't just look at videos. Look at playlists. If you go to videos, you're going to find a hodgepodge of what was last loaded, and it's going to all be out of order. But if you go to playlists, you're going to find how that site organizes their courses. And so for the language tutor, I'd encourage you to take a look at their playlists. And as the doctor mentioned, they're working on that issue to if there's any gaps or any editing title changes they need to make, they will have to.
Yeah.
But without reloading, because if you reload, you're going to lose your views if you do that. That's right.
Yeah. Frederick has asked me if I still teach face-to-face in a school, and yes, I do. I am a middle school teacher.
So
some people say, "What's that?"
That's how you pay your bills.
That's how I pay most of my bills. But I'm in the state of Georgia. I'm about 50 miles north of Atlanta, and but yes, I teach in the middle school. Some people say, "How do you teach middle school? How can you stand those kids?" And I say, "How do I not?" So I love them. We have a lot of fun.
Okay, so had somebody here that mentioned I was only using Duolingo until I stumbled on your videos. You've given me the key to understand what I was already learning. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you.
That's the very kind comment, Diana.
Yeah.
And I think you'll find my philosophy is that apps have a place. They can be a good diversion. They can be a good reinforcement tool, but they're certainly not a place where you can learn the language. Learning the language takes somebody like Dr. Evans for us. And so let me just real quick, we have a lot of visitors to this page. Let me tell you about this page just a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't pretend to teach the Spanish language. I am just a student myself. What I want this page to be is a place where learners of languages can come and find study tips, helpful information to kind of cut through some of the marketing and hit the meat of the matter, which is how to study a language. So, Danny, what your first language you said was French?
Yeah, I learned French in high school. And my best friend had a French exchange student for the summer, and we became good friends. And so he invited me and my best friend to come over there. And so we got to go stay in France for several weeks. And being the language geek, I tried to speak it as much as I could. And then I did continue with some French classes in college. So yeah, I love it. Love the language.
Okay, and then you went on to Spanish. And from front to end to where you became comfortable to be able to teach it, how long are we talking about?
Well, I did a 4-year bachelor's degree in college. So, I mean, it was, I would say by the end of my degree, I was feeling pretty comfortable with the test that I was going to have to take for the state of Georgia. And I had started doing some, observations in schools and practice teaching. And so I'd say, by the time I finished my degree, I was ready to go. Felt comfortable.
Did your study time include any travel to foreign countries that spoke Spanish? Any immersions?
Yes. During my bachelor's degree, I traveled with my cousin, who is also a Spanish teacher. We went to La Ciudad de Victoria in Mexico, and we spent about 10 days there. So I got thrown to the lions, so to speak, because she basically just said, "Hey, come on, let's go talk to these people." And so, I was nervous, but over time it became easier.
So I'm showing everybody your podcast page, the website, which is thelanguagetutor.co. It's
Right.
.co, as in Columbia, not
Mhm.
com. And so make sure you bookmark that and visit that. Tell us what you're doing with your website. What's going on with your website?
We're putting extra resources on the website. Early on, people said, "Hey, do you have any like written practice study notes you can send?" And I started thinking, I need to do that. So we've recently been developing written practices that you can download. If you watch a lesson and you'll find a written practice there. You can practice writing sentences, or it'll check you on your vocabulary. You can, like if it's one of the lessons where I gave a bunch of words, you can see where you can just write them in Spanish and test yourself. There's sometimes sentences to translate, things like that. So,
Okay, I'm looking at a question from Pietra Schneck, who says, what would be the most natural order to learn the tenses in Spanish?
yeah, that's a good question.
It's a
I
great
would
question.
say present tense first, because that really gives you a sense of how verbs work. And you're able to start just saying, I'm doing this, and this, able just to start talking about what you're doing. I think a good second tense to learn is present progressive, the ing forms, because we're using those all the time in language. I would then probably go to preterite, because if you think about how many times we talk about something that happened in the past, it's pretty much all the time. And then I would probably move to imperfect, because that is very, very common as well. And then when you're comfortable, you might want to look at subjunctive, because subjunctive is used all the time in Spanish, even in English. The same structure idea as in English. So,
Now,
and then after that, I think just as you take them, you take them. So however you want.
okay, so Danny, you're learning a language right now. Don't tell us what it is. You're learning a
Okay.
language right now. We're going to take a short break and pay the bills. But when we come back, we're going to ask some questions about that language and how you're learning it. And so while we do that, let me bring up this screen. This is the Language Tutor Stores page. At the Language Tutor Stores page, you can buy some of their merchandise and support them through this. This is through Teespring, so when you order it, Teespring will ship it directly to you, and that'll be a great help for the Language Tutor. Now, another, as I mentioned before, a no-cost way to help the Language Tutor is to subscribe and like the Language Tutor's all their videos. Just like them all. Uh, these are methods that help YouTubers like us to fund our efforts, to pay for the microphones, to pay for the equipment that we need, the software that we need, and so forth. And also, if you haven't checked out my book, go to Amazon and look for my book. It's My Complete Spanish Language Learning Journal. And my goal is to help you to stay motivated and track your progress. This is not a teaching journal. This is a journal that allows you to measure day by day your progress through the language. And check it out on Amazon. And that is a direct help to me. Okay, so we're back. You're learning a language.
Yes.
What language? Now he knows French, Spanish, and he's studying a third language. I'd like somebody in the chat right now to tell us what language you think he's studying. What language do you think somebody who understands French and Spanish wants to go to the next language? What language would he pick? What language would be that choice? And while we're waiting for you to think about that, I want to thank Raina for a comment about the book. I appreciate that. And Phil Hodgson, thank you very much. Sharon, you asked if it ships to the UK. It does. You can find it on the UK's Amazon website, and it ships out of every country that Amazon ships out of. So go to the amazon.co.uk, and search for the book. All right, so here they come. They're rolling in fast. Portuguese, Arabic, Italian, German. Nobody's guessed my guess. Nope, I had a guess, but nobody's guessed it. Mine was Pig Latin. That you were going to learn Pig Latin.
I'm fluent in that already. So.
Are you? Yeah. It was mandatory in my home growing up. It's the first language my mother taught us was Pig Latin. So I went to school, and the teacher asked a question. I raised my hand, and I responded in Pig Latin. From there, school was kind of tough until they figured out Mom has a great sense of humor. All right, so we have Portuguese, Italian, German, Romanian, Chinese. All right. The award goes to Sasha Delcourt for Dutch.
Dutch.
Yep. So congratulations, Sasha. Now,
good guess.
Dr. Evans, how does a man of languages study languages?
I pick up and study as many words as I can. I have a few books that I try to read through and recognize any words that I don't know. And again, I am forming conversations in my head all the time. And I've recently been looking at two websites, polyglot.com and italki.com, because those, I tell people about those sometimes, they pair you up with somebody who's a native speaker. And so you just get to go on, get to know somebody from that country, and just have conversations. So I want to get a little bit stronger with my vocabulary first, and a little bit more confident in my ability to pull out the random words that you need in a conversation. And then I'm probably going to start having conversations with someone in the Netherlands.
Okay, so what is comfortable with vocabulary? How many words?
Oh, wow. I don't really know that I can put a number on it, but I think it's more of a feeling of when I have these mock conversations in my head, how often am I stopping to go, oops, I don't know that word. So, you take a topic like things in the house, you learn as many words as you can, and you might things in the classroom, many words as you can in the kitchen, whatever. So once I'm not coming across those as often, then I think I'm going to take the step.
Okay. So, and it also depends on the language too.
Yes.
What are you finding out about Dutch? How close is it to English, and is that a help for you?
It is a help, because there are lots of words in Dutch that are very similar to English, and Andres says that it's very similar to Afrikaans, which is very true. But I don't know. I think it's just one of those things that I just have to get to a comfort level, and then just start speaking. You're the language learning master here. What do you think is a good number of words? I want to go back to that really quick.
Okay. So I believe to be able to start a conversation, you need probably about 1,500 words where you can start to feel comfortable with having a conversation. And I think it needs to increase exponentially from there. And I think one of the best ways to help exponentially increase your vocabulary is to learn words that mean the same thing. So, for example, when I'm trying to talk to someone in Spanish, and I want to talk about this delicious beer that I'm drinking. Oh, it's root beer, by the way. Root beer. Okay. This is an adult show, so if you have it, root beer, drink it.
Yeah.
So anyway, if I'm going to talk to them about root beer, and in my trip to Colombia, I found out they have no root beer. What do you mean, root beer? And so finding other words like sarsaparilla and other words that can describe the same thing is a way to exponentially increase your vocabulary. This is an adapter, it's a plug, it's a power adapter. There's a lot of different words to describe an ink pen. You know, it's an ink pen, it's a ballpoint, it's you know, the difference between the click or the cover. So finding other words to describe the same thing is how you exponentially increase your vocabulary. And so that's my thought.
And I think, you know, back to how similar it is to English, I wanted to ask you that question because I really would, you know, I think 1,500 is a good number, but really I want to get to the point where I feel like I know that many words that are not similar to English.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, of course we can pick up the words that are, cognates, but I mean, the thing about Dutch is that when you get into the higher levels, the order makes no sense whatsoever.
Right.
And, you know, you look on Duolingo at some of the sentences and you're going, what? I don't even understand what that, how did they get that? And that's where it really just takes practice.
Right. My method with cognates in Spanish is learn the cognate rules and apply the rules. Where you steer wrong, somebody will help you out. But I want to bring back this thing about podcasts for a second.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of my friends and people that are in the same Facebook groups that I'm in are looking for ways to download something to a phone and take it with them. Can you do that with your podcast?
Yes. The podcast operates same as any, you know, if you listen to a story podcast or whatever. So if you know, on your phone, if you most iPhones I know anyway, because I have an iPhone, you go to your podcast section. If you have subscribed to a podcast, it's typically going to give you the most recent episode of that.
Okay.
But, you know, you can select it and then go into all the previous lessons to, you know, to get more episodes of that podcast. But if you subscribe, it's going to put that in your feed.
Okay. And I'm sure there's a setting that says, you know, do this on video.
Or tomorrow.
Okay, so let's take a look at some of the questions specifically coming out of the chat and see if there's something that strikes your interest. If you have a question that you want to ask Dr. Evans right now, please quickly put it into the chat. We're on about a 30-second delay or so it'll take that long before he can see it. But put your question in there. In the meantime, okay, so Rick Cochran asks a question. Is your Sunday YouTube a live show, or is it the latest lesson that you've recorded?
It is the latest lesson we've recorded. We like to do all the editing ahead of time, so we don't really do a lot of live stuff on the channel. So previously recorded.
Okay, Sharon Drummond says, I'm amazing. She said that. She also said that you're amazing, too.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Sharon.
Yeah, but she mentioned that second. First it was me. So,
we know who's better here.
Oh,
You're the man.
I mean, I'm struggling with one language. I actually studied Greek. So
cool. That's great.
Studied Greek for 3 years and spent 5 days in Crete.
Wow.
So Helen Camera asked a question about, is there a way that we can start pairing students to help each other practice your lessons? Pairing students.
Yeah,
I have a suggestion for that, by the way.
You have what now?
I have a suggestion.
Go. Yeah.
Facebook mentoring. Facebook mentoring. It's a brand new feature, and you can use it inside private groups. You cannot use it in public groups. And with Facebook mentoring turned on for your private group, you can set it up to where people can volunteer to be a mentor, and other people can volunteer. Okay. It says excellent condition. Let's hope everybody refreshes. And God bless all of you who stayed with us. Okay. All right. Okay. Sorry about the delay. Sorry about the technology, but we're back and going. Okay. So Danny,
Yes, sir.
we're talking about the plateaus, getting past
Mm-hmm.
that plateau, and you said
Yeah.
the key thing is to just talk as much
Right.
as you can.
Yes.
Inside voice when you're alone, or
Mm-hmm.
outside voice when you're alone. Talking
Mm-hmm.
to other people. How do you stop people who respond in English to you when you speak in Spanish to them?
You learn how to say, I would like to practice Spanish, please. Would you please speak Spanish? And it's funny because one of the problems I had on the reverse side is that I had practiced so many times saying, speak slowly. I do not speak Spanish very well yet, that I was so good at saying the phrase. I had practiced so much that people, it came out very fluidly, and people thought, oh, he speaks it. So, um, but do learn some key phrases. Please speak Spanish with me, or please speak slowly. I'm learning. Things like that will help you facilitate your conversation.
Okay. Now let's go back to Facebook mentoring just for a minute
Mm-hmm.
because there's a few
Yeah.
comments that's where it's frozen up at. Uh, so we're going to be looking into that, and Danny's going to look into it with his Facebook posts and groups, and he'll get back with you on that. But just stay tuned, and if you've not already liked his Facebook page, you need to like his Facebook page so that you can keep in touch with the changes that are being made. And so, one of the things that I've noticed is that people will join a Facebook group, but then turn off notifications for that Facebook group. You're losing out. You're losing out the entire benefit of being in that group. If your
Right.
only time that you want the group is so when you can come and ask a question, you're missing out. You're missing out on
Yeah.
a lot. So don't turn off
Mm-hmm.
notifications. Join a group, join a page, keep those notifications going so that as updates are made, you get that information. Okay.
Right.
Um, the power of mas lento. That is so true. That is so true. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Danny, tell us what the future holds for your
Mhm.
website for just a few minutes. What do you
Yeah.
see? Where do you see your website going?
Website, I want to have many more resources. I posted on the Language Tutor Facebook page a while back that I'd had an idea to create a weekly vocabulary booster where you can go week 1 and learn extra words, and week 2. So that's going to take a while to create, but that's something I want to have for people. Those people that like to go the extra mile. We want to keep putting, building our playlist in order to help people that'll route you to the YouTube page in an understandable way. Um, as more languages come out, we'll definitely be directing people to the website more, because when you, like I said, you go to the YouTube page and you have all the videos in one place, that can be a little overwhelming and confusing. So the website will say, hey, here's the French, and it'll direct you right to the French or the Portuguese or whatever. And I do want to say this, I have big plans. One of the things that I'm looking at right now is developing a Language Tutor practice app. I have recently created an account on an app builder, and I'm investigating how to do it effectively. But I'd love to be able to publish an app where people can go and just do little quick practices from each lesson also.
That's great. And that'll be very popular.
I think so.
We need apps for everything. So I'm going to get to a question that
Mhm.
Susan has asked. But
Okay.
before we do, let me ask you, someone who's studying Spanish, um, and they have concerns whether or not what they're learning is Spanish, as in the Iberian Peninsula Spanish,
Hmm.
or if they're learning some Latin American, Central American Spanish word. As the teacher, as the tutor,
Hmm.
uh, how would you rate that level of concern? As a student, should I be worried about it? Should I focus in on it? Should I check every word to make sure it's in, my destination country?
I don't think you should be very concerned about it, honestly. If you think about English, and if we were to go to England, the UK, I know there would be some words that we would have to say, wait a minute, what? We might understand the word, but the context would be different. Um, but you're generally going to be understood wherever you go. And I try to present words that are very universal. But even now, I'm still finding words. I go to Costa Rica just about every year. And I remember speaking in a church down there, and I used the word regalo, gift.
Mm. Yep.
And my friend from Costa Rica came up to me. He said, "Hey, Danny, everybody understood you, but just to tell you that we don't really use the word regalo, but everybody knew what you talked about." I said, "Well, what do you use?" And he said, "Don." I said, "Don?" And at that time, I'd never heard the word don. So if you're gonna pick up dialectical words
Sure.
anywhere you go.
Danny, I was flat on my back in a hospital room. My Spanish speaking nurse came in. I'm only 5 miles away from the Mexican border. And she asked me if I'm hungry, tienes hambre? And I said, sí, um, you know, and, quisiera desayuno, por favor. And she looked at me. She was like, what? I said, desayuno? Oh, no. No sé. It's like, what do you mean, no sé? You mean, the word is loncha. Loncha.
Oh,
It's like, I've
yeah.
never heard of that. Never heard of that. But it took, 30 seconds for me to learn that new word. And that moment in time, I'll never forget luncha, and you'll never forget don. Right?
Right, right.
Okay.
And I'll give you another quick example that's really of mine. It was really funny at the time, but we were in the mountains in Guatemala, and we were staying in this house owned by a missionary, and they had these papers with information all over the wall. And so I was standing there next to a girl from Ireland and a girl from Scotland. And one of the things you need to know about, if you go in the mountains of Guatemala, the girls wear skirts. They teach their girls that it's polite and respectful for girls to wear skirts. And so the sign said, "Ladies, while in the mountains, wear skirts, no pants." Well, my friends from the UK were standing there laughing because it made total sense to me, but they explained to me, "Oh, no, no, no. Pants is your underwear." So to them, the sign said, "Ladies wear skirts, no underwear." And we were going, "Whoa, man, that's a totally different sign in the UK." So
And
you
words
pick up things.
change. Words change. I remember
They do.
I remember moving to Tennessee and asking my fiance to translate for me. So
Hmm.
there's even words within regions that change.
Yeah.
So Susan, I hope we addressed your question in depth there.
Yeah.
If you have more questions for Dr. Evans that you have not been able to ask yet, I want to make sure that you know how to reach him. His email address is on the screen right now. It's Danny Evans 3371 at gmail.com. Now,
Hmm.
if you email him there, you're going to reach him. He doesn't have, you know, 10 people screening his emails before it gets to him. That's
Right.
his email. And
That is me.
triple checked with him that he wants to share his personal email, and he said absolutely. That's what I want to do. I want to have people know how to get in touch with me. Hey, Danny,
Yes,
are you ready for some fun? You want to have a little break?
let's go.
Are you ready? You sure? You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, because we're going to have some fun with an interview game that I am going to call 60 Seconds. This whole concept of 60 with a stopwatch, I want to take away this lower third, is all my idea. Nobody else in history has ever had this kind of idea before. Okay, but here's our 60 seconds. I'm Dan Hall.
And I'm Jude Vivas.
And I am Raina Scott.
And this is 60 Seconds. Okay, Danny, here goes. As quick as you can. Don't stop to think. Just right off the top of your head. Ready?
Okay, ready.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
How long did you date your wife before you knew you wanted to marry her?
Before I knew, right off the bat. I dated her 6 years.
Okay. Pizza or hamburgers?
Pizza.
East Coast or West Coast?
East Coast.
Favorite zoo animal?
Zebra.
Spain or Latin America?
Latin America.
Name one thing about yourself that would surprise everyone watching.
I'm actually an ordained Christian minister, associate pastor.
Oh, that's surprising. Okay. Airplane or car?
Airplane.
How many months have you been married?
Oh, Lord. 27 times 12 months. 27 years.
Windows or Mac?
Windows.
Favorite book?
Salem's Lot.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Last movie you watched?
Salem's Lot. It's a movie, too.
We see how you handle your books. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Bacon
I read
or
it too.
sausage? Bacon or sausage?
Bacon.
There's no right answer for that one, by the way. Favorite vacation spot?
Indian Rock Beach, Florida.
TV shows or movies?
Movies.
Okay. Most embarrassing thing you've ever done?
The back of my pants ripped all the way down in front of my class in one time my first year teaching. Luckily, they couldn't see it.
First year. Rookie. Or as the Marines would say, noob.
Yep.
Okay. Half full or half empty?
Half full.
Okay. If you had a warning label on you, what would it say?
Hug is coming your way.
Oh, okay. Which would you rather do, dishes or laundry?
Laundry.
One place you never want to visit again?
Saudi Arabia.
Toilet paper, over or under? I say amen to the last one.
Over.
Over. Two things that are true, one thing that is false. Hang on. Everyone, I want you to guess which thing is false in the comments below. But two things that are true, one thing that is false. Go ahead.
Oh, wow. I play over 10 musical instruments, and I have traveled to 20 countries, and I love mayonnaise and mustard.
Mayonnaise and mustard mixed?
Just both.
Both.
Separately.
Separately.
Anytime.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime. Okay. All right. Okay, Dr. Evans, I want to thank you for your time.
Thank
Had
you.
a great time. Thanks for playing the inaugural edition of 60 Seconds. And thanks to Jude and Raina for helping me with that. And I want you to get an opportunity to have the last word, to tell us what do you want people to do right now today with their languages, whatever.
Well, I want to encourage you to subscribe to Dan Hall's page because he's given great tips on how to study language. You know, the mistakes that people make. I love your channel for that, and a lot of great information there. But the biggest thing is find yourself someone to practice with and speak it every single day as much as possible, and you'll be amazed at the results.
Okay. Dr. Evans' email again is on the screen. I want you to take a look at it and make sure that you have that. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. I'd appreciate it. And I actually have a Sheltie, and you'll help feed my Sheltie. So thank you for that. But subscribe, like this video. I want to apologize for the technical difficulties that we have. I'm going to promise you something. I promise you this. We're going to find out how the difficulty happened. We're going to find out how to prevent it from happening. And that's going to be a mission before we have our next live interview. And I have a number of YouTube teachers online who have asked if they could be interviewed. So stay tuned to this channel. Next week, I'm going to be releasing a new video on my channel entitled, "You're Not the Boss of Me." So please come back and check that out. And I want to thank everybody for their time, for coming.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, and especially Dr. Danny Evans. Now, I want to say this. He has been nothing but a friend to me. So, Danny, thank you for that so much. I appreciate your spirit. I appreciate your dedication to learning. And I want to see your page go viral. I want to see your YouTube page just massively grow.
I appreciate
10, 20
that.
times that amount. There are so many people who want to learn, who don't know where to go learn. And you see it on Facebook groups all over Facebook. You know, people just literally posting, "Please teach me Spanish." Well, here's someone that said they will do that for you on their channel. So get a chance, check his channel out.
I appreciate it. Dan, real quick, there's two things I'd like to say really fast. First of all, when you're talking about subscribing to my channel, I know you're going to find this really hard to believe because I look so young, but I'm going to be 50 March 3rd. And my goal is to hit 50,000 subscribers by that day. So if you know anybody that is looking for a good channel, I would appreciate you telling them about it. The other thing I want to say to everybody is I do read as many comments as I can. Now that I'm out for summer, I'll usually take the morning to just go through as many. It's overwhelming, but I do read them, and the overwhelming support, it just blows my mind. Everybody's just so kind to me and so supportive, and I just want to tell everybody thank you because I can't tell you how much it means. So I appreciate it.
Okay. Will you join us again in the future, in a few months?
Absolutely.
Come back and talk to us about how Dutch is going, how
Sure.
your French is, French YouTube classes are going, and come back. We'd love to have you back again in the future. And so, if you'd like to see Dr. Evans come back to
Danny.
this channel, Danny, please put that below. And put that in the comments below. Let us know that you'd like to have him back. You can reach me at dailylanguagejournal@gmail.com. The address is also on my YouTube page. All right. So it's been wonderful. A lot of great comments. I want to thank everybody for them. If you didn't get your comment answered, keep in touch. We'll go through the comments on the screen and do our best to answer as many as possible. But you can also reach out to Dr. Evans personally. Okay? Until next time.
Hey, Dan,
Yes, sir.
are you going to answer the question that was false?
Oh,
You're going to tell them which one was false?
all right.
I see a lot of guesses. So just,
All right.
I don't want
so
to leave
here
them
we
hanging.
go. No. Let's do that. Let's answer the one that's false. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to say that you hate mayonnaise and you hate mustard.
You are correct. Andres and Karen nailed it. I can't stand to be near either one of those.
Yeah. You see, you have a tell. You have a tell. When you said mayonnaise and mustard,
Yeah.
you had a tell that a trained person like myself can notice. See, it started up here and it worked all the way down. It was a shiver.
Yeah.
You don't see it, but you need to record yourself because you went like this. You went mayonnaise.
Yeah. That's the way I feel
and
too.
mustard, like that, just like that. So I thought I got him right there. If anybody
Yeah,
said,
real quick, I do play several instruments, and
yes, you do.
I have been to 20 countries, and I am gonna in the near future. I'm gonna be starting a new YouTube channel. I already had the channel, but I haven't put videos on it. And but I'm gonna be teaching lots of different musical instruments. I'm gonna be doing cooking videos,
Wow.
adventure videos, all kinds of things. So I'll look for that. I'll be putting that on the channel to advertise it.
Danny, you're going to have to go full-time YouTube to do all this.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah. Right. I know.
That's fine. We'll look forward to that. I really look forward to that. I'd like to
Thank
hear you write a song about, maybe a verb tense and sing it to us or something.
Yeah. Okay. I'll work on that.
And play maybe 5 of the instruments and do, as you do that.
Yeah. There you go. Okay.
Danny, thanks for joining us. Everybody who took time out of their Saturday to join us, thank you very much. Thank you for bearing with us through that little glitch. We're going to make sure it doesn't happen again. Until then, God bless everybody. Stay safe.
Hasta pronto.